How? My name is Squantum. What is that puzzled look on your face? Ah, you must not be familiar with this name. Perhaps you know me better by Squanto. I belong to the Patuxent tribe. We occupy a land along the east coast, which is present-day Massachusetts. My people are peaceful. We do not like to make war. We hunt, plant and harvest crops, and trade with the white men. When I was a boy, I planted and harvested crops with the other women and children. I gathered berries for pies, and I scared the crows away from the fields. That was the job of the children. The braves hunted and they protected the village. My father was a very good brave. He was the best brave the village had. His name was Wamiso. I had not become a brave yet because I had not taken the test to show my worthy. But let me tell you a little bit about the test. To pass the test, I must show that I can take care of myself. When winter sets in, my father will take me blindfolded, far, far from the village, into the woods, where I will survive off the land the whole winter by myself. When the grass is green, my father will come for me. You may think this test sounds easy, but it's not. Many boys have died. Starvation, cold, but some were lucky enough to find their way back. As you can see, I'm a worthy brave now. Instead of planting or harvesting crops, or scaring the crows away from the fields, I hunt and protect the village with the rest of the braves. There's one thing my people look forward to in the spring. That is when the white men come to trade. They bring shiny bees and kettles and pots and pans, and we give them our furs. They come in big canoes, they called ships. They always came in peace and did not harm us. That changed one winter, one spring, when they came. Captain Thomas Hunt was the commander of the ship. They came, brought their shiny gifts. We brought our furs. We were done trading. They said they would give us gifts if we would help carry the furs to the ship. So me and 30 other braves went. We got done loading them. After we got done loading them, the, the men on the ship jumped us, beating us down to the ground and tying our hands together, throwing us down in this dark hole below the deck, which was crowded and cold. The man told us we would be taken to Spain and sold as slaves. I did not know the meaning of slaves, or did not like it. Many, many moons had passed on the seas. We got to the land, and I heard yelling. I saw people pushing. Then that's when it hit me. I knew the meaning of slave. I would not be free. I would belong to another white man. I saw my fellow braves taken. There's nothing I could do. But as I laid on the ground, I heard a silence break over the crowd. I looked up, and I saw a man in a brown robe, holding a cross, walk up. He looked at me and told me to come. I followed. They said he was a priest. I called a man with a cross. He nurtured me for weeks, till I regained my strength. There I worked for him in the fields. He taught me the white man's ways and tongue. After that, he helped me escape to London, England, where I worked for a wealthy merchant named John Slaney. He was very kind also, but he saw my sorrow. He knew I was unhappy here. So he sent me home on a ship, commanded by Captain Thomas Dermer. He was a very nice fellow. I talked to him a lot. As we sighted land, I looked close. I looked closer. Then I noticed, this is not my village. This is the village of Chief Somerset, the Indians north of us. Captain Thomas Dermer had come here to trade. I did not want to trade. I wanted to go home and see my people. The captain was not familiar with the land south, but Chief Somerset was. He said he would join us on our journey and help us find my village. As we reached my village, I looked for the people to greet the ship, as we always did when they came in the spring. But I saw no one. The forest was dark and dead. As we got off the ship, I ran to where my village stood. There was nothing but bare land, weeds growing where the fields were. I thought, what happened to my people? But I knew there was one man that could tell me. Chief Massasoit. He knew everything. He had scouts. He saw and heard everything. His tribe was the Wampanoag. and I told the captain that I must find him. Chief Somerset joined me on my journey. We traveled for days, and then we came among one of his scouts. He would take us to his camp. There I asked Chief Massasoit what had happened to my tribe. He bowed his head and said, "A great sickness had fell over the Indians. Many died, thousands. Some tribes were wiped completely out." I guess that explains what happened to my tribe. I didn't know what to think. I had no family, no friends. But Chief Massasoit said we could stay with him and his tribe. Then one day, an Indian ran up to me and Chief Somerset, saying that white men had landed with women and children. They were cutting down trees, building houses. I did not believe this, for the white men did not come to trade with women and children, or did they cut down trees to build houses. So Chief Somerset and I went to see what we were told. It was true. There was women and children, and the men were cutting down trees to build houses. Chief Somerset knew some of the white men's tongue. He wanted to go talk to them, but I wouldn't go, for I knew the white man was really like. I watched at the hilltop as Chief Somerset talked to them. They did not harm him. They seemed to be friendly. The second time we went down, Chief Somerset asked me to go, so I went, but I was very cautious. The captain of their ship was Captain Miles Standish. He was a very firm man. He was one in charge of protecting their village. The governor was William Bradford. He was a very nice man. I trusted him. When we went again, we brought Chief Massasoit to talk with them. They wanted to make a treaty with him, so I acted as I concluded the treaty as an interpreter. We asked them why they stayed. They said back in their homeland, England, they were not free to worship their God as they wished. So they moved to the Netherlands. Their children forgot their ways, so they moved here. I decided to stay with the white men, who were called pilgrims. I taught them how to plant the Indian corn and showed the way my people had hunted and trapped fish in the stream. We had a good harvest that year. So to celebrate this, they had a Thanksgiving. They invited Chief Massasoit and his tribe. We had a 3-day feast. The men hunted ducks, deer, and turkey. The women made pies, puddings, and cakes. The feast was huge. After this was over, one winter, the pilgrims had a problem. They had run short of food. So I went to Chief Massasoit for help. He said he would help. The tribe brought food for the pilgrims. They were very grateful. We had a very strong relationship with the pilgrims. They trusted us, and we trusted them. We had a treaty, and that's where we ran into another problem. A great enemy of Chief Massasoit had sent a bundle of arrows wrapped in snakeskin to the pilgrims. They asked me if I knew what had happened, what this meant, and I did. This meant war. The enemies had a great, large army, thousands of warriors. The pilgrims only had 30. We could not fight, but I had an idea. The Indians were afraid of the white man's gun. I thought, let's put some gunpowder in the snakeskin and send it to them. So we did. They were not brave. They were scared to keep it, so they sent it back. That was the last we ever heard of them. I died of Indian fever in 1622.
Hi, my name is Sitting Bull. I was born in the Hunkapapa tribe, a small tribe of the Sioux Confederacy. I was born in 1831 along the Missouri River. My father's name was Sitanka Autanka, which means Sitting Bull. This name represents a stubborn buffalo bill bull sitting on his haunches. My father was the chief of our people. My mother's name was Her Holy Door. I had two sisters named Goodfeather and Brown Shawl Woman. I also had a half-brother named Fool Dog. He was from a previous marriage of my mother's. He lived with his people, the Arakaras. When I was little, I did not bear the name Sitting Bull. When I was born, I was given the name Jumpin' Badger. But at an appropriate time, I have earned it, I will be given the name Sitting Bull. Even though my name was Jumping Badger, I was regularly not called this. I had earned the name Hunksini, which meant slow. I had earned this name through my will and deliberate ways. The men in my tribe hunted and protected the village and went to war. The women did all the other chores. Men owned all belongings that his family had. But even more than hunt, war preoccupied my people. Allied with friendly tribes such as the Northern Cheyenne and Northern Arapaho, we fought enemy tribes continuously. By the time I was 10, I had absorbed all tradition and customs of war and hut. Being young, all the boys, including myself, loved games. They instilled a competitive soul in prospective warriors. I killed my first buffalo when I was 10 and gave it to the poor. In 1845, when I was 14, warriors organized a war party to strike westward in search of crow horses and scalps. Crows were an enemy tribe that we had fought continuously. 10 men joined the war party. Without much of my parents' approval, I went too. We spotted the crows. Whooping and shouting, we'd raced after them. One got on his horse and tried to escape, but I had spotted him. On my horse, much swifter than his, I chased after him. As I caught up to him, I grabbed my tomahawk. Getting up to him, I took my tomahawk and knocked him off his horse and just started banging his head in the ground. This was my first coup. Showing such bravery, this marked my elevation up to warrior. Now I had earned the name Sitting Bull. Now I had taken on the name of my father. He had changed his name to Jumping Bull. A final tribute to my jump from boy to warrior, my dad handed me a shield that he'd handcrafted. This shield was supposed to have held sacred origins. Now I had wore a white feather signifying my bravery against the crows. In my early years as a warrior, I gained membership in both the Kit Fox and Strongheart societies. The Stronghearts were looked on as the most prestigious. I won distinction among 40 to 50 members in this class. I soon became one of the two bonnet wearers or sash bearers who ranked immediately under the two leaders. I was known for my hunting skills also. I rode with no saddle on my horse and only wore a breechcloth around my waist. My horsemanship was considered faultless. I owned many horses. My fastest horse was stolen from a white man in 1858. I gave it the name Bloated Jaw or Lump on the Jaw. I always rode this horse into battle. My name had struck fear in enemy warriors. I was an expert with weapons such as the bow and arrow, knife, tomahawk, and war club. I endowed muscular arms and shoulders which I wielded this weapon, a special weapon, with deadly force. It was the lance. The lance was a gift from my father. It was a sturdy ash shaft 7 to 8 feet long, tipped with an 8-inch blade, decorated with feathers and beads. As I matured, I took an adult build with a muscular frame, big chest, and a large head. I stood only 2 inches under 6 feet. I became a war chief in 1857 of my tribe. Premarital sex was not uncommon among my people, nor was adultery, or stealing wives was a common thing also. But this caused fury and sometimes even murder. I stole one of my 2 wives from another man, who I chose to be my wife. Her name was Light Hair. Shortly after our marriage, she died giving birth to my son, who lived. He died 4 years later from disease. With much grief, I adopted my nephew, One Bull. who was the second son of my sister Goodfeather. Being a war chief, I also became a Wachasha Wakan, or holy man. Wachasha Wakan were dreamers who experienced dreams with sacred content or spiritual meaning. I also, even though I was a holy man rather than a medicine man, I had mastered the techniques of healing. I carried roots for doctoring, but I did not regularly practice medicine. My comrades and I called the place where we went to trade with the Wachasha the white men, worn out fences. This place we called worn out fences was Fort Pierre, which stood on the west bank of the Missouri River, 3 miles above the mouth of the Bad River. This fort served as a chief trading post for fur companies. We brought buffalo skins for guns, iron tools, and other material things. At Fort Pierre were the only Wasishus, or white men, we knew until they started crowding in our land around the 1850s. Largely French Canadians and mixed bloods, their livestock ate our prairie grass. They cut down our trees, fires, and built cabins, and they brought deadly epidemics, which included cholera, influenza, measles, and other lethal ones. But even worse, the hunters and traders became evil the way my people saw it. They started killing our buffalo for their skins, only the skins leaving the rest to rot away, leaving the number of buffalo smaller and smaller. In 1867 and 1868, this group, called the Peace Commission, had other intentions than making peace. They wanted to clear all Indians out of the principal overland travel routes. Two reservations would be set aside for Indians of the Great Plains, the one north of the Nebraska and one south of Kansas. In 1868, the Peace Commission turned to the northern plains. It remained, however, to persuade the upper Missouri Lakotas to sign the Fort Laramie Treaty. Leaders of the peace faction presented no problem, but leaders of the war faction had to be coaxed into council before talk of signing. Commissioners made a dangerous trip to the war camps to speak with me and my fellow chiefs. I entered in May of that same year with a war expedition. I led my warriors to Fort Bedford, where there, in a field, we found 2 Sylvan hay workers loading a wagon. We stripped the workers of their clothes, scalped them, and then pinned them to the ground with 27 barbed arrows. From there, we headed northeast to Fort Taunton on Devil's Lake, where we ran into 2 mailmen on the route. We cut them off of their horses and took off with 4 mules. We caught 2 replacement riders for the mail route, but found out they were part Indian, so I spared their lives. I sent them to tell the army commanders that I, Black Moon, Four Horns, and Red Horn, other chiefs, did not intend to meet with the Peace Commission, but would rather keep on killing white men until all left Indian country. The war expedition ended. I had done all that I could to put hurt towards the white men. The Treaty of 1868 pattern set the setting which the Sioux could surrender the settle on the reservation and yield our independence to white officials, or strike, or like me, fiercely reject all relations with whites. With my determination against whites and my bravery and ranks in the tribe, I was elected head chief, and my father stepped down proudly. With my responsibilities and authority, if I told my people to fight, they fought. If I said make peace, they made peace. The way my people and the whites worshiped their gods was different, and that for some reason seemed to threaten the white man. As they worshiped their gods through praise in the Christian ways, we held ghost dances or other spirits. Having these dances hurt no one, but the white men were determined to make them stop. They requested we stop, but I refused, so they planned to arrest me to make them stop. This bothered me no bit. I said, let them come. The white men did not want bloodshed in the process of arresting me, so as I was sleeping with my family on an icy night, silence was broken by hooves and barking dogs. I next remember being violently lifted up in my sleep, and there stood two Indian policemen. As they tried to escort me to the wagon, I asked for clothing since I had slept naked. I was given no time to put on the clothing on the way to the wagon. The commotion woke the rest of the camp. They yelled and chanted to let me go. I struggled to the wagon, being pushed and pulled. As I held onto the wagon door, a shot rang out and struck full head one of the Indian police arresting me in the right side. As he fell, he drew his revolver and fired a shot, striking me in the chest. Another Indian police involved in my red tomahawk fired the fatal shot to the back of my head. I had lived 59 years and died as a chief of my people in 1890. You're asleep.
No. No. Oh. Stop. Pause. I'm done!